for the East-West girls basketball shootout, where Crown Point is hosting. They'll face Northridge, and then after this one, Maryville versus Columbia City. So if you're tuning in, you want to come out, check out some early girls basketball action, come on over to Crown Point High School and have yourself a good time. But, Zach, look at this Crown Point girls basketball team. They have gotten off to a hot start. They're 4-0 in this new era as Brad Stengel comes over from Hanover Central to CP. And what have you seen differently from this Crown Point team compared to this 2025 to last year's club?
Well, comparing from last year, Brad Stengel, they won the sectional title with Hanover Central last year, and he's really brought over a pace and space approach here to the Crown Point Bulldogs, where now they're shooting much more threes and they're getting in transition much more than they were last year. So they've modernized their offense a bit to where they want to get to the rim or get three-point shots.
Yeah, they're averaging 66 points through their first 4 games, and they've blown out everyone that they've played. They beat KV by 29, Bishop Knoll by 30, and did the same to Andrean on Tuesday, where they won 56-26. Looking at the Raiders, this was a team that was pretty young last year, and they went 21-5. They won some playoff games. They come back with Douglas Springer, who's in his 18th year as a head coach of this team, and they had a good win against Fairfield earlier this week where they had 4 players in double digits. So it's a really pick-your-poison type team.
Yep, they have a few players, like you said, Lily Skoll, Cam Conley, Allie Ambers, Zoe Heater. They have a few players that can get it done for them, each of them averaging around 10 points, those 4. And like you said, it's a young team, but when you have a coach in Douglas Springer who's been coaching for 18 years, over 300 wins, the winningest coach in program history, they're going to be able to get them right for this game.
Springer actually started his coaching career in Wheeler, so right here in the region.
All roads come back to Northwest Indiana.
Exactly. And for Crown Point, it begins and ends with their star player, and Ava Ritchie. What an incredible start that a sophomore, mind you, a sophomore has gotten off to this year. She's averaging over 21 points. She's averaging 7 steals, and she's shooting over 50% from behind the arc, 7 for 12 in the first 3 games. Ava Ritchie has really taken a jump up from her freshman year to her sophomore year.
She's the epitome of what we talked about with them trying to do this modernized pace and space system where, like you said, 7 steals a game. That's probably how many transition points a game there. And then 7 of 12 from 3, let alone when you average 22 points a game. That's a lot of points in the middle of that, too. She's the straw that stirs the drink for this Crown Point team, and she emphasizes exactly what they look to do.
It's always really big to have early tournaments like this. Someone in college basketball would call this Feast Week. So we're having our own Feast Week here on the Region Sports Network with a doubleheader. Crown Point's game now, and then later on when they're taking on Columbia City at 5, 6 o'clock. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. But when you can play teams like this that also have had success in the last few years, but for Northridge it's really been 2 decades, it allows you to kind of see where your team is sitting at, but also find out just how conditioned they are when they have to play a second game later on in the day.
Yep, exactly, and it gets you prepared for the rest of the season,
right.
Where you play 2 games here, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, wherein it's 2 teams that you're not so familiar with, right? You get to see, maybe if you think, we played these DX schools last year, you maybe have a sense of what they're going to do, but you get 2 programs that are from across the state that you don't know what they're going to do,
right.
So it's going to get you prepared for the rest of the season, giving you different looks than what you're going to be used to.
Both teams are heading over to their benches as we should start to hear the national anthem being played soon. Zach, really excited to be with you, and I'm really excited about this game. I think we're going to have a lot of stars step up, and what a time to start the day off with some girls basketball, very competitive.
Very competitive indeed, and like we said from yesterday, I know it's been like a very fun 12 hours, so to speak, here in Northwest Indiana, where we have the 2 football teams getting sent down. Then we get, the beginning part of girls basketball season with the 4-0 Bulldogs. No better place to be than here.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Crown Point High School for today's matchup.
We are going to step aside for the national anthem, and then we will come back as you're watching Game Morning on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Ava, let's go.
Try it on.
The shortest distance between 2 people is a smile. That's why we're committed to fighting hunger in our communities until everyone has a reason to smile. Strack and Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, insurance professionals. Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
Last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, with the desert descending and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and of the free and the home of the brave?
Welcome back into the Region Sports Network. Andrew Mild with Zach Miller. Mayor Pete Land and the Crown Point Pace Department are proud to support Crown Point Bulldog Athletics and say, go Bulldogs. Crown Point remains dedicated to preserving history, celebrating everyday life, providing the best in city services, and encouraging smart growth. Open skate returns to Timothy Gurish Ice Rink at Bulldog Park on Friday, November 28th, weather permitting. For a complete schedule of hours, visit crownpoint.in.gov. The Saturday morning forecast is brought to you by our friends at Economy Electric Heating and Cooling. This morning's forecast is 42 degrees. Little brisk outside, but at least the sun is out after it was a rainy day yesterday. That's the Friday night forecast, or Saturday morning broadcast, correction, brought to you by Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, keep you cool in the summer and cozy in the winter. Going through the starting lineups of the Raiders, it's going to be Macy Raxicker, Allie Ambers, Zoe Yeater, Cam Conley, and Lily Skull. And Zach, as you mentioned, this team is full of capable scorers and capable players. Lily Skull was one of them, but even Allie Ambers had herself a really good game, doing a little bit of everything. 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 steals in their win.
Yep, and then looking at the stats even beyond just that game, she leads the team in three-point attempts this season, Allie Ambers. So looking out, she's had maybe a little bit of a slower start than she'd wanted to start off the season, but I'd say look out for her this game to see if she gets it going quick, because she's going to be looking to shoot it from outside. Really
Amazes me how the three-point shot has really jumped its way into all basketball, and it's really trickled down from Steph Curry making all those threes for the Golden State Warriors in college basketball, now to the high school ranks, and both coaches bringing in that modern offense where we're starting to see more three-pointers attempted, because as statistics will tell you, more transition threes means more chances for you to score.
Yep, they realize the math simply. They're starting to look at the math equation, three's more than two, but not just that. You're looking, would we rather get maybe a 20-foot mid-range shot, or would we want to step back a couple feet and get that extra point? It doesn't really change the percentage too much, but it helps you get an extra point.
It's really interesting to see how that has affected this Crown Point team and the hot start they've been at, as they had a 500 season. They finished exactly 500, and Seibert, who was here when they won the state championship, he stepped down. He's still on the coaching staff as his official statistician, but they go out and they get Stengel, and Stengel brings in this modern offense. It's been working. Crown Point scoring points. They're playing great defense. And if they can continue this momentum into conference play, who knows how far Crown Point can go, as this is a very historic girls basketball program.
They've had success in the past few years, and particularly, like you said, over time. And not a bad move from coaching. You lose him, and you feel, maybe, where are we going to go? You go and get Stengel as a replacement. That's not a bad replacement at all.
Because remember, he went to Hanover Central and really built up that program, won them their first ever sectional championship. We did their game last year when they went up against East Chicago in the regional, in which East Chicago was stacked. So to see that Stengel was here really tells you how important this job is, and how a lot of coaches want to come to Crown Point and coach at this up-and-coming program. Crown Point going through their starting lineups. They have Ava Ritchie out there, the sophomore we talked about earlier, averaging over 20 points. Ivy Henderson, she is the big girl down low, a 6'4 junior, averaging 5.7 points, 4.3 rebounds.
Double threat.
Double threat. We'll also have Sydney Hale, Ava Punak, and Addison Seibert. As we get ready for the jump ball here at Crown Point High School, and to start off a very busy day of basketball.
Ready for this one to go here, Andrew. First time doing color on basketball here. I'm ready to go.
First basketball game of the year for me. So
Wouldn't have to do with anyone else.
Quick turnaround for both of us. Both were of late covering football.
You know what you're doing, you don't need sleep.
And the initial jump is won by Fairfield. And they're pushing it down the floor. They dump it down low. Have to kick it back out as Crown Point collapsed into the perimeter. Swinging around into the corner. Back up top, Crown Point with some very tenacious defense. Skull going to her right, going right into the chest, and there's going to be a blocking foul early. That one will be pinned on Addison Seibert.
They're running that 3-2 zone here at the beginning, trying to wall off that outside perimeter that we were talking about. You know, they don't want to let them get that outside shot so much.
First foul on Crown Point, just 20 seconds in to the contest. The Raiders inbound it, setting up into the post. Nowhere to go for Yeater. Back outside to Ambers. Handoff, Skull gets a screen, head of steam. She stopped at the block, picks up her dribble. We're going to have a jump ball, and that will be Crown Point ball.
Great defense to wall her off there, force her to turn around, try and make a pass, and then just had her get a jump ball there.
Punak getting her hands on the ball, the junior. Team forces 17 steals, and they've only allowed a handful of points this year when you look at it. We're talking about how good their offense has been, but their defense has been just as good. Henderson at the top of the key, setting the screen. Ritchie, crossover, mid-range to get into the corner. Back outside, an open three coming up for the Bulldogs, and it rolls off. Battle for the rebound, and Henderson can't bring it for Crown Point, and that's a rebound for Yeater. Yeah, I think for the Raiders, that's going to be a big key. Keep Henderson off the glass. Ball is lost, and it's picked up by Ritchie. Ritchie pushing it down the floor with the right hand. Too strong.
It's the type of offense they're looking for, though. Get out in transition. They'll make those more than they miss.
Trying to get those quick possessions, and that's exactly what they're trying to do now is poke the ball away. The old saying goes, great defense leads to easy offense down the floor. Henderson with some good hands, able to knock away the ball from Skull. They drop it down, that's and one! Yeater cutting down the lane. She gets bumped and rolls it in.
A great cut down the middle there. She recognized that she was in trouble, had a back cut down the middle, and won. That's what you're supposed to do there when you realize that the ball handler's in trouble. You got to help your teammate out, make a cut, get yourself open to get them, help them out there.
And that foul was on Seibert, and that's her second, so she'll come out of the game pretty early. Rihanna Gertsch is the new Bulldog. And Yeater converts the N1 opportunity. So 3-0 Raiders. Crown Point still looking for their first bucket. Bad pass. Raiders knocked it away, and it goes out of bounds. Crown Point was set up underneath the basket.
Active hands from both sides thus far.
Hey, we're talking about how good Crown Point's hands are. The Raiders themselves also force a good amount of steals. That just comes down to really good coaching. Into the corner, chuck up a three, and it's off to the right. Tegurcha comes in for Seibert after she gets in the foul trouble. Her first shot just slightly off. Feels like a cat and mouse game early on. Both teams sort of waking up.
Yeah.
Early start, and that will be an offensive foul. An easy call for the referee over here as Conley put her forearm right into the face of Gerchik.
I know, that looked like a little Derrick Henry move there. Put the forearm out, say, get off me.
Can't imagine
Wrong
that
sport.
has to feel good at 10 a.m.
Now we're waking up.
Raiders running the press, but very loose. Crown Point able to advance the ball past half court. Running their play here. Corner, Gerchik just shot one there earlier and didn't want to shoot it again. Ball deflected up into the air. Gerchik was able to recover it after Hale couldn't bring it in. Ritchie setting up the offense here. Two-screen look, crossover to left, trying to get into the lane. Nothing there, is closed off. And a rejection, but they're going to call a foul. Crown Point got it into the post, and Yeater will get her first foul on her.
30-on-30 action there. Punic got down there, took a couple dribbles, trying to get, back her down a little bit, force the foul.
Right now, the way Crown Point started this game, they just want to see the ball go down the basket a few times.
Yeah, like you said, it's been a pretty, you could tell a little sleepy start on both sides here. Trying to get, it's a little early game here, Saturday morning, one of the first ones of the season. You got to get yourself ready for these early season games. Early morning doesn't exactly help that either. It's a couple compounding effects.
First free throw is too strong, and the second one not strong enough. Crown Point still scoreless, nearing 3 minutes into this contest, and travel. Skull took too many steps, and a unforced turnover by the Raiders. Yeater, the only one with points thus far in this game. 3-0. Bodies hitting the floor as Ritchie was tripped up. And they're going to call it a jump ball, and that will go back to the Raiders.
Thankfully, she popped up quick. That sounded like it hurt.
It didn't look like it was fun.
Yeah, we've had a couple plays early thus far. If you didn't get any coffee beforehand, I think they're waking up now.
Hitting the ground hard.
Stiff arms.
Not in the right sport. Offensive foul. On Friday nights, it's considered a good play. Crown Point, those active hands, and they got it away. Reaching for the ball, and we're going to have our third jump ball called.
It was great effort there by Ava Punic there, diving on the floor, getting her hands on the ball, and then diving down to make sure they got possession.
If any time the Raiders enter the paint, that's when Crown Point starts trying to poke that ball away, and it's been working out, and it's hard when you're running that zone because they collapse on you. You're not sure who's going to be coming from your left or your right.
Exactly. You have everybody reaching at you. It's not just one person. It's the entire team looking to get that ball from you. They collapse really well.
Halfway through this first quarter, no score for Crown Point as they're down 3. Angel Mile with Zach Miller on the Region Sports Network. Good morning. Feet Henderson down low. Henderson going up strong. And Crown Point finally on the board.
There you go. You're looking for some offense. Get your first bucket. No better than throw it down to the big.
Gerchik putting some pressure on Reichsecker. Reichsecker had to pass it off. Crown Point finally on the board after they missed some shots, deflected away, and the Raiders are able to recover after Hale got her hand on it and went right into the lap of Skull. Skull goes to the ground, and she'll shoot some free throws.
The Raiders have been able to get inside early thus far. They just haven't been able to convert, whether it's been them getting fouled or them getting the ball taken from them, but they've been able to penetrate pretty well thus far. The points just may not indicate it.
First free throw is good. Skull shooting 84% from the free throw line this year. So a good candidate to get to the line and get you some points after Crown Point finally got themselves on the board, and Skull goes 2 for 2. 4:20 to go in the first quarter. Crown Point scored on their last possession. Trying to go on a bit of a run here. They trap Ritchie. Henderson passes quickly as she could off to a cutting Punic. Punic couldn't bring it in. It's a turnover.
Yep, I think her eyes got a little big there. She saw the opening to the hoop there. Was thinking, I got a free bucket, and then, just concentration lapse for just a moment. That's all it takes. Escape the hands.
The old saying is sometimes you can be too open.
Yep.
And I think that's what happened. You're right for Punic. Skull taking it herself. Spins. Corner 3 coming up for the Raiders. They got it. Cam Conley shooting 32% for 3. Makes it a 6-point game, doubling their advantage over the Bulldogs. And a foul on the Raiders.
You can see early on both sides are really trying to get the same thing where they're trying to penetrate, get the defense to collapse, and then if they can't get the shot in the paint, pass it out to the shooters.
Going in to be able to go back out. And it worked for the Raiders. Crown Point has only been able to make one field goal. And they're going to fix the net on that opposite side from us.
Referee was on it on the far side.
Crown Point inbounding it from down low. Henderson got the ball. Sophie Hart is in for Crown Point. Ritchie trying to get herself going. Averaging over 20 points, and she's scoreless thus far. She's one of those players you can only hope to contain for so long. Ritchie, crossover, going baseline, and she threw it off the bottom of the basket, but a foul is called, and Ava Ritchie doing what she does best. Crossover, taking it one-on-one, a little iso ball, getting the foul and going to the charity stripe.
Yep, that's exactly what they wanted there. They got the pick and roll and they got the switch they wanted. They switched Lily Skoll right onto her, and then she just took her off the dribble and made her foul her.
Ritchie has yet to miss a free throw this year, coming in 8 for 8. In the last game against Hammond Central, 22 points, 4 for 4 from the free throw line. What was impressive was the 9 steals. She almost had a double-double in points and steals. She goes 2 for 2 at the line.
So good she can't even get beat by the announcer's jinx. I was ready for it. I didn't want to say anything, but
it is a true thing, and it will follow you wherever you go.
Not true enough. She made it after you said it. Usually, though.
Hale's pass is deflected. Crown Point stealing it away. Ritchie by the Crown Point logo, the heart. Then their offense develop here. Henderson, corner. Ritchie drops it off to Hale. Hale, cross pass to Kerchek here in the corner. Kerchek, crossover, mid-range jumper, and it rolls in.
Nice move. That was a great skip pass there from corner to corner. They wanted to feed Henderson in the post, but she got double-teamed, threw it all the way across the court for the open girl.
Crown Point find the bottom of the basket. Skoll fed down low. Skoll's shot rolls off. Offensive rebound. And Henderson with the bump to Reichsecker, who pulled in the missed shot. And the referee, that's Dave Uran, the former mayor of Crown Point, saying it was before the shot. So no free throws for Reichsecker. Instead, the Raiders will get the setup down low. But Henderson, she's talking to her coaches. Looks like she's going to be coming out of the game. A couple of Crown Point starters are already in foul trouble. You saw Addison Cyber go out pretty early, and now Ivy Henderson, a force down low, and now in the game. So a small ball sort of lineup for Crown Point. Pass was deflected, but the Raiders were able to recover, and now we're going to call a travel on Yeater. She went to plant herself, and her foot slipped from underneath her. She hit the ground, and that was an easy call for the referee.
That's what happens when you play good post defense. You force wall her up. You got to make her be able to be stable there.
Raiders still going with that press. Gerchek pushing it down the floor. She made a shot in the last possession. Ritchie for three. She can't get the triple. Offensive rebound. Hale toss it with the left hand. No good. Offensive rebound again for the Bulldogs, and a foul is called. And Sophie Hart got the second chance look for Crown Point, and she'll go to the line with an attempt to tie this game at 8 apiece.
Even when Ivy Henderson is not on the floor, they take the 6'4" girl out. You can't take that out of the game, though, from the Crown Point Bulldogs. They try and emphasize that to get offensive rebounds. A pair of them there leading to a foul.
Yeah, a lot of coaches will tell you they love how many points they score. They love the steals, the assists. But I think for Stengel, you got to be really happy that his team's averaging 13 offensive rebounds a game.
I'll tell you what, when you look for the way they play, trying to get those three-pointers and inside, it's usually something you don't see with how many threes they shoot.
Hart goes 2 for 2, and we have a timeout on the floor. We'll take a quick break as you're watching Game Morning on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Ava, let's go.
Try it on.
The shortest distance between two people is a smile. That's why we're committed to fighting hunger in our communities until everyone has a reason to smile. Strack Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
We're back here on the Region Sports Network. Good morning. Andrew Mile with Zach Miller. And Zach, Crown Point on a 6-0 run, be able to tie this game up at 8 after they were offensively stagnant to start the game.
A little sluggish to start, trying to get their rhythm offensively, but now they're finding what they try to do most, where they get inside and then kick out the shooters.
Raiders burn their first timeout after this Crown Point run, trying to slow them down. 2 minutes ago in this first quarter, Skull fed the ball, and Skull called for a travel. How many turnovers is that now on Northridge on unforced plays?
I mean, there's been at least, I count 3 to maybe 4 traveling calls it's been thus far.
A couple of travels, pass going through the hands, going out of bounds.
A couple jump balls where you get tied up.
The Raiders getting a little sloppy. You don't want to do that against this Crown Point team. High post to low post, and it is rejected. Skull rejects the shot from Punick. She's trying to go coast to coast into the corner. They're going to call a foul down low.
Ava Ritchie there with the foul.
The last thing that Crown Point wants to see is another starter get into foul trouble.
Especially Ava Ritchie with her 22 points a game.
Now we'll put the Raiders into the bonus, and Skull hits the front end of these 2 free throws. You're already seen Cyber go out and Ivy Henderson with foul trouble. You put Ava Ritchie in there, you're not sure who you're going to turn to offensively. The second one rolls off the rim. Crown Point clears it. Ritchie, crossover. She's on the wing. Orchestrating traffic. Pass it off to Hart. Hart to Hale. Hale almost going out of bounds. Save it. Gerchuk, corner 3. Can't get it. Hits off the back heel, and Skull with another board.
Didn't go in, but that was a great wraparound pass there from Hale.
Going out of bounds, found an open teammate. The execution was good, just didn't get the result that they were looking for. 1 minute to go. 1 point game. Skull can't bring in the pass, and they're going to say it's off Crown Point. Maybe it bounced off one of the legs of the 2 defenders guarding Skull down low. Anytime he feels like Skull gets down low, the double team immediately comes down on her.
She's causing a lot of pressure on that defense. It's up to see if the Raiders, if they'll be able to capitalize on that, kicking out to an open shooter.
Ritchie's going to head out of the game just to close out this first quarter. Walker. She's coming in for her first couple of minutes of this game. Kick it out. Conley. Down to the corner. Crown Point's defense, they take pride in it. So they rotate fluently. And also the tenacity, getting right into the grill of the Raiders' offensive players.
They're not afraid to play physical.
And a miscommunication leads to another turnover. This just looked like the Northridge team was really uncomfortable in that possession.
In number 10 there, Sydney Hale, she kind of shot the passing lane there, and the Northridge player without the ball in the corner there, she didn't know she was supposed to. They thought she was going to cut through the wing there, but then they passed it the wrong way and forced a turnover. That pressure causing another turnover.
Well, Ritchie's going to come right back into it, and Ritchie was going for that crossover. Reichstecker was able to get her hand on it, and it rolled away. Crown Point able to recover. Henderson, she's also back in the game, and she was in foul trouble. Gerchuk, Henderson cutting down low. She has a mismatch, getting double teamed, and she just loses it, and it was deflected off a Raiders defender. You gotta say, if you're Coach Stengel, you just want to see Henderson go up with it.
Exactly, she was able to. She cut through the lane to get that post up, and the double team was late. She had a lone defender on her a few inches shorter than. You just want to see her go up with that, because by the time with the pump fake, a second defender comes in and forces her to tip it out of bounds.
I would say a lot of defenders probably going to be a few inches shorter than Ivy Henderson. Hale in the corner, driving the lane, spin move, left hand, it sails over the basket, and that's how the first quarter comes to an end. Some really good defense to start off this morning's contest as the Raiders lead by 1. We'll be back after this 30-second break. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Hi, I'm Crowd Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, insurance professionals. Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
Mayor Pete Land and the Crown Point Police Department are proud to support Crown Point Bulldog Athletics and say, "Go Bulldogs." Crown Point remains dedicated to preserving history, celebrating everyday life, providing the best in city services, and encouraging smart growth. Open skate returns to Timothy Gurish Ice Rink at Bulldog Park on Friday, November 28th, weather permitting. For a complete schedule of hours, visit crownpoint.in.gov. You're watching Region Sports Network coverage of high school girls basketball on youtube.com/Region Sports, facebook.com/Region Sports Nation, and regionsports.com. Andrew Mild and Zach Miller. And Zach, how would you say that first quarter went?
Well, I thought it was a little sluggish to start, from both sides. You could tell it was a little early morning, early season matchup, a few turnovers, unforced errors on each side. But as the quarter progressed, Crown Point was down a few points to start. They go on a 6-0 run. They're able to find their rhythm a little bit more to see how to get to the way they want to play. Both teams wanting to get inside, force the pressure to collapse on them, and then kick out to the open shooters. It's going to be interesting how the second quarter goes once now that they're in a little bit more of a rhythm, if they're able to continue that.
Teams start to feel each other out. Bad pass, intercepted away from Crown Point. Trying to get into its transition. We immediately saw two Raiders drop back. They're trying to slow down that high-tempo, high-octane Crown Point offense. Henderson at the top of the key. Ritchie getting a screen from Henderson. Going through left, stopped at the elbow, nowhere to go. Hale, corner three, wide open, and it's converted. Gerchek was wide open, and I think she was shocked at how open she was.
She said, "You better."
Raiders trying to respond. They can't. Crown Point pushing it. Ritchie looking down the floor. Crossover. Now she's going to dribble it back out. You're right, though, Gerchek. I'm surprised how open she was. And no one went out there to stop her.
All right, don't guard me then. I guess I'll just shoot it then. Watch it go through the net.
Gerchek shooting 38% for three. She's open down low, and her shot floated up and hit the right side of the iron, and a foul being called on Crown Point. Is this one going to be on Ritchie?
It is on Amaya Menchacha, number 21.
Well, if that was Ritchie, it would have been her second. That's why it was vital.
Yeah, they are very glad that it was not her. They were both in the area there. They are very happy that did not go that way.
This offense is really slowed down for Northridge. Skull into the paint, back out, attacking, get into the corner. Reichstecker has nowhere to go. Three ball coming up, and it's drilled. Allie Ambers. She shot 2 for 9 from three-point land in their win against Fairfield, and she hits a massive one for the Raiders here in the second quarter.
Wasn't a bad contest either by the Bulldog defense.
Ritchie running all over the place. Three coming up, and Menchaca, she responds.
Starting to think they found the rhythm now, Andrew.
This game's starting to open up a little bit, so if you like offense, this is going to be your quarter. Bad pass. Ritchie's trying to jump the lane and couldn't get there in time, just mistimed it. Skull down the lane, kisses it off the glass, tied up at 14.
Great move. She switched hands there in the middle of taking it up from the left hand to the right with the underhand. That was a great move.
A little Jordan action from the 91 finals. And a travel. Gerchek, took many steps. Crown Point called for the turnover.
Up until that turnover, a much higher pace there than they had been earlier.
Yes.
Just back and forth each side. Getting quick threes, quick shots at the rim.
No start with that Gerchek three. And Crown Point with a steal. Hale coming from behind, right into the lap of Ritchie. Ritchie, Hale, Henderson down low. Henderson finishes.
Beautiful offense. Get the steal, get it to Ritchie, get it to Hale, down low to Henderson.
Transition three, high arcing shot, hits nothing. Offensive rebound. Skull, try to pass it back out. It's deflected by Hale. Hale is all over the place right now.
She is just sprinting all over the floor, getting her hands on the ball at every chance she can. Sprinting the ball, running into the baseline there, running to the sideline with the team.
Hale does a little bit of everything for this team. She can score, and she can do that. She steals it, gets down low, she gets hit, and she can't convert the shot. She'll go to the line for 2. But this is the second quarter is all about Sydney Hale right now.
I mean, right on cue. As soon as we keep talking about her, she just shoots the passing lane right off the inbound, gets the steal, and gets fouled on the other end. I mean, she's getting it done in both ways. She's up to probably 3 or 4 steals already at this point, and even more deflections than that.
She's 2 for 3 from the line this year, but it was her steal. Crown Point strings some passes together to set Ivy Henderson to make the open layup, and this time she jumps the passing lane, pushes it down the floor, gets the foul, and at the line for 2. She's already made 1. Crown Point up 3. It's their largest lead of the game, and she goes 2 for 2.
And when you have Henderson back there as your rim protector at 6'4", you're able to have all your other defenders on the floor be able to play this aggressive.
Correct.
Because you can force them to play that aggressive and where they can just funnel them to the paint.
Corner 3 with a line drive and hit off the left side of the iron. No good from Allie Ambers. Ritchie, she thought about pulling one from the right wing. Instead, she passed it off. Ritchie to Hale. Hale can pass. She can score. She can rebound. And as we've seen, she also gets her hands on the basketball. And that is a bad miscommunication as Punick was ready to drop it off to Ritchie. Instead, she had to take another step and a travel call.
Still working out the kinks here a little bit.
Early season. Only the 5th game for the Bulldogs, and also the same for Northridge, who comes in at 2-2, win their last matchup. Crown Point, as we talked about in the pregame show, they're 4-0, and they have just dominated their opponents. So I think for Crown Point, under their new head coach, Brad Stengel, they'd like to see a close game. Just got to see what happens to their team when it's a tight one going the last couple of minutes.
How do they handle that adversity,
Exactly.
It's easy when you're the hammer. What happens when you're the nail? You got to see how your team responds to that.
When that pressure starts to get a little tight. Now about taking a corner 3, kicking it back out. Here's a 3 on its way. No good. Offensive rebound. No one boxed out Gorbel, and Gorbel will get to go to the line.
Yeah, Gorbel, Henderson was kind of sitting there waiting for the ball to come down, while Gorbel, she just came running down the lane, ready to get that offensive rebound. If you're the Bulldogs, you got to put a body on a body to get that rebound. You can't just rely on your size.
Let's say early on, I know that we talked about Stengel and Springer and their experiences. Stengel, a 2A state championship with Andrean as their head coach. Springer's been around the block, over 300 wins. You can tell that these two teams are very well coached.
Yep, you can tell even just from the beginning of the game to where they are now. We were talking about, it's a little sloppy. They're looking to get their rhythm. From the point from the difference in the first quarter to the second quarter, that's where you can tell great coaching. How teams come out from a break, from a timeout, from a quarter, from halftime. How they respond after a break, that's where the best coach teams show up.
Gorbel goes 1 for 2 at the line. 4 minutes to go in the first half. Ritchie, head of steam, getting to the rim, and she gets bumped by Skull.
That's what you're looking for if you're Crown Point. They've been able to keep Ritchie in check so far. You just want to get her the ball, get her going downhill, either get a layup or force them to foul her.
Ritchie comes from a long line of basketball players. It's her story now being told here at Crown Point. It's impressive, her high basketball IQ, and that's what helps when you have so many different family members that play basketball for such a long period of time where you can learn from them and kind of pick their brain if you have any questions.
Right, and you think about, it's like, you see the 22 points a game and think, okay, she impacts the game as a scorer. When you have that basketball IQ, you're able to impact the game in multiple different ways.
Right.
Defense, rebounding, passing, on-court leadership, getting people in the right places. When you have that experience from your family, you're able to impact all areas of the game.
Timeout, as Coach Spring was not happy in the predicament that his Northridge team was at, as they were at half court trying to find somewhere to go, pivoting anywhere. The Crown Point was closing up those passing lanes. But another timeout being burned. And be sure to stay connected with all things Region Sports by supporting and following us on social media. We're always active on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and online at regionsports.com. Celebrating over 25 years, we're proud to still be the only game in town. Zach, do you still call it X or do you call it Twitter?
X.
X? I see it.
I mean,
I'm old-fashioned. I have to call it Twitter still.
Well, see, my thing is I never really used Twitter that much beforehand. It's not really a thing for who owns it or whatever. I just never did anyway, So my thing is like, I guess I'll call it X now. I didn't feel an emotional attachment to calling it Twitter, so to speak.
Well, let me ask this. I know that for the Region Sports Network, basketball is going to be on the pages consistently, more than ever in the last few years.
Oh, yes, between basketball and wrestling this winter sports season. Everyone be on the lookout here on the Region Sports Network. We are going to have you covered here.
If you're a wrestling fan, you've not listened to Danny Bell call a tournament, you need to tune in. I did one game on camera and listened to him for the entirety of the tournament. I learned more about wrestling in that few hours I have in the 26 years that I've been alive.
Every time I meet him, I get a new Danny Bellism, I call it, because he's the most crazy person I've ever met. Last time I saw him, he's like, I haven't eaten 46 hours.
See, that's a wrestling thing. That's the most wrestling thing I probably ever heard of.
It's like, this Dr. Pepper's the first thing I've had in 2 days. I'm like, okay. So, and he had more energy than all of us combined. So shout out Danny Bell if you're listening. You're the best.
Coming out of the timeout, a high arcing floater. It goes down. Nice move by Jada Walker. 3-point game. 3.5 minutes to go. Gerchek corner. Ritchie swinging around the perimeter, trying to feed it down low to Sophie Hart. Sophie Hart being closed off, and she's battling with Yeater. Ball rolls out of bounds on this near side.
Between Yeater and Skoll, they're really fighting hard down there in the front court to try and keep the ball from getting down low, particularly to Henderson and anyone who's in there for Crown Point, as they want to get the ball inside and then have them everyone collapse in. It really stresses the front court to be able to defend them there.
You see how Crown Point really spreads out the floor by going around the perimeter, getting down low, and as you said, both teams trying to do the same thing. Get it down low, see if anyone will collapse, and then kick it back out. Going for the baby hook, no good. Offensive rebound, put in by Sophie Hart.
Great play right there. Just what we're talking about, get the ball inside, and if it doesn't work, you know what this Crown Point team can do? They get offensive rebounds like the best of them. Right there, Sophie Hart collecting the rebound, putting it up, and one.
We're talking about it. Basketball is a numbers game, of course, but when you get more field goal attempts in the other team, there's a good chance you're going to score more points than them, and that's the name of the game.
So your opposing team can hit 50% of the shots, but if you hit 40% of your shots and you get 20 more shots than them, it doesn't really matter how much you miss and make. If you get that many more possessions.
So between offensive rebounds and their ability to steal the basketball, that's another thing you have to consider too, is if they're stealing the ball away and pushing it down the floor, the other team's not getting a shot up.
Thus far this season and for the rest of the season, it's not going to be uncommon to see Crown Point have 10 to 15 more shots than their opposing team.
Transition three, bodies hitting the floor, and as a push in the back, as that shot was slightly off from Cam Conley, shooting 32% from three. So if anyone has a green light, most likely it's going to be Conley, one of the two captains on this Northridge Raiders team, Conley and Reichsecker.
Ritchie comes back in here for Crown Point. 3 minutes left in the second. Got her a couple minutes of rest. Now have her finish out the half here. Try and see if they can extend Crown Point's lead here.
A tick under 3 minutes as the ball is inbounded. Ritchie running the point. And they're really guarding her from up top. Tough take there, and Punick draws the foul. And Crown Point has been phenomenal at this. They're going to start getting some Raiders come out of the game and get them in the foul trouble.
Once you get that, they don't want to switch as much on the bench, So once you get those backups in, particularly you have your front court defenders, who are doing such a good job trying to keep Henderson and people from scoring inside. Once you get some more fouls, they're not going to be able to play as physical, or you're going to get people off the bench to play, and it's really going to open up their game.
Punick 7 for 14 from the line. She hits the first one. And she goes 1 for 2. And it looked like initially Crown Point was able to get an offensive rebound, but the Raiders pulled it away.
And a bit of a press here.
Ambers, Walker loses the ball. Bodies diving for it. Crown Point was able to clear. It's Punick at the bottom of that pile. Ritchie pushing the tempo here. Going to the lane. Corner three. Gerchik kicks it down low, wide opens Hart, and Hart with the layup, kissing it off the glass.
Nice pass to Hart inside.
2 minutes to go. And Crown Point has dominated this second quarter with their defense and a good string of passes offensively to set up open looks.
Consistently seeing them make Northridge have to pick up the ball here before they can get their action they want, having to force it and then stall their offense out.
The Raiders have taken a lot of deep threes just because of how good the Crown Point defense has been. Raiders just trying to find somewhere to go, but Crown Point taking down with the rhythm. Quarter three coming up, short. Rebound, Punic.
Punic's done a great job inside getting rebounds, and it's been a couple times we've seen her dive on the floor to get loose balls. Great effort.
Open, down low, Gerchik. Gerchik with the head fake and gets a defender in the air, throws it off the window, and Crown Point has a 10-point lead.
Doing a much better job getting inside.
Walker drops it off for Corbel, and Corbel is fouled. Hit right on the arm, going up with the right hand. Minute 23 as the clock is stopped for these two free throws for Northridge.
No surprise to see Crown Point going on a run here with how they're trying to play. They're not doing it from outside. You see the stats and say, oh, they're a three-point shooting team. That's how they want to get it done. But no, it starts from inside, and then the threes open up once they have to adjust to that.
And here's the thing, too. I know we were saying that both teams shoot a lot of threes. They shoot good threes. I think there's a difference when a team is shooting 50 threes and a good amount of them are contested. Two teams that might shoot about 13 and they're open looks.
And you got to look at if you're outside in, like you say there, where you're trying to get threes to open up the inside, which usually doesn't work as well, versus inside out, forcing the better shots at the rim and close to the hoop, and then opening up those open threes on the corners in the wing.
Corbo went 1 for 2 at the line. 9-point lead. Gerchik has had to come off the bench early, and she's played a significant amount of minutes in this first half after Seibert went out with some foul trouble. Laying hands is in the game for Crown Point. She's on this corner. They get down low. Henderson goes up around the defender. Henderson gets hit, and she's too strong. She puts it in for an and one chance.
Incredible catch in traffic there, Andrew. She had to contort her body in midair, make the catch, go up with it in one motion with 2 to 3 defenders fouling her right there. That was a great play.
I think it helps that when Henderson's not dominating in the paint in this gym, she's playing volleyball in this gym. So you see where the leaping ability is coming from for Henderson.
To it, leaping ability in 6'4", that is a dangerous combination if you're a Northridge
Could you imagine
defender.
Henderson spiking the ball at you?
Oh, boy.
Exactly. I think a lot of players would agree with you.
Let's get the ice pack ready.
Just not the face, please, right?
Please, anywhere but the face.
Hale got her hand on the ball. But taking a spill was Conley. Foul on Sydney Hale. And I got to say right now, Zach, Sydney Hale, she was the one that really opened up this game for Crown Point. A couple of steals led to transition points. One of them was a field goal for Henderson. It was also Hale going to the line. But we talked about how good Ritchie is scoring and stealing the ball, Henderson at rebounding. Hale does everything. All her stats across the board. Some people would call her a box score stuffer.
It's players like that get you going. And, you think you look at your star player like Richards and go, she's going to be the one that gets you going. But it's players like Hale who get those loose ball plays, those steals, those scores inside, the little things that do show up in the box score but also don't. And they get your momentum going. They get you energized as a team.
Behind the back, Ritchie, phenomenal move. Down the lane, floater good. What a nice move by Ava Ritchie.
Get off me, she said. And then she makes the play on defense, knocking it out of bounds. She had the pressure on here from the full court. She said, all right, behind the back, cross, going all the way to the middle to get the layup.
That's called going into your bag. And Ritchie certainly did on that play. Got right to the cup, tossed it in for 2 more points. And she'll head to the bench. Maybe an offense for defense sort of swing here for Crown Point to close out this first half. There's a good chance the Raiders are going to hold for the final shot here.
Yeah, smart play by Coach Stengel there, too, to try and get your best player out the floor to prevent them from getting a foul.
That's also very true. 5 seconds to go. Crown Point has the ball initially, rolls away, and it goes out. They're going to say it's going to stay here with Northridge with 1.2 seconds. So a pass in and then a shot, and we'll see who gets this final shot attempt. Crown Point sending the defenders. They get it in, and this shot won't count. It's not even close, though. What a great conclusion to this first half for the Crown Point Bulldogs, going on a massive run. They take a 14-point lead into the halftime locker room. We will step aside and come back, and we'll talk about this first half, get you ready for the second half as you're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Four Seasons Mechanical proudly serves Northwest Indiana, providing quality, reasonably priced, reliable service. With a quality and comfort guarantee, the professionals at Four Seasons Mechanical offer a wide range of services in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Whether it's residential or commercial, Four Seasons Mechanical is there 24/7. To find out more, the website is fourseasonsmechanical.com or give them a call at 219-756-7020. Four Seasons Mechanical, your indoor air quality specialist.
From lighting up Friday night football to powering the classrooms that shape the students of Lake County, IBEW Local 697 is proud to support our region's schools and the communities we call home. A career as a union electrician could be your next great move. Your next cap might be a hard hat. IBEW Local 697, powering futures, powering the region.
Old Man Winter is just around the corner, and that means temperatures will soon begin to drop. And a region winter is not the time to be left out in the cold. The professionals at Economy Electric Heating and Cooling can tune up that old furnace or install a new unit that can last for years. Your family deserves to stay comfortable this winter, and with 24/7 emergency service, comfort is just a phone call away. Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, 219-923-4441. Or for more info, the website is forajobdoneright.com.
Earn while you learn from the best hands in the business. The Bricklayers Allied Craftworkers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. That's right, this is a paid apprenticeship.
I'm getting an education while learning a trade and getting paid for it.
The thing that surprised me the most about this apprenticeship program is the respect I have received after the proper time and training.
Classes start soon, so apply now. There are training centers throughout Indiana and Kentucky. We are the Bricklayers and Allied Craftworkers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. The best hands in the business.
Calling all current and future homeowners in the Northwest Indiana area. Whether you're buying or selling, Brent Wright is here to make your real estate journey smooth and successful. With years of experience, personalized service, and a deep knowledge of the market, Brent will help you find the perfect place or get the best deal for your property. Call today at 219-406-7195 and take the first step toward your real estate goals. Contact Brent Wright, the right way to buy and sell real estate.
At Blyce, we're used to having the athlete shop at our store.
Down, sit, put.
But sometimes they get carried away. Blyce, this is where the athlete shops.
Located in the heart of downtown Indianapolis, the newly renovated Hampton Inn is within walking distance to over 30 restaurants and attractions, including Lucas Oilfield and Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Hampton Inn has much to offer, including a hot breakfast, high-speed internet access in every room, as well as a fitness center. Why wait? Make your reservations today. Call 317-261-1200 or make them on the web at hamptonin3.hilton.com. Hampton Inn, Indianapolis, downtown.
Mayor Pete Land and the Crown Point Police Department are proud to support Crown Point Bulldog Athletics and say, "Go Bulldogs!" Crown Point remains dedicated to preserving history, celebrating everyday life, providing the best in city services, and encouraging smart growth. Open skate returns to the Timothy Gurish Ice Rink at Bulldog Park on Friday, November 28th, weather permitting. For a complete schedule of hours, visit crownpoint.in.gov. Andrew Mild with Zach Miller for the only game in Crowntown here on the Region Sports Network. But before we start talking about this first half and getting you ready for the second half, Zach, it's going to be really exciting for the Region Sports Network to be partnering up with Crown Point High School.
We are so excited to be the streaming partner of the Crown Point Sports. It's been a great football season. It was a good season. Maybe didn't finish the way the Crown Point wanted to, but going into this winter season, great wrestling schedule here. Crown Point, always one of the best teams. I want to say from Indiana, Matt, they're the second-ranked team in the state right now, bringing back a lot of great wrestlers. Girls basketball looking good, 4-0 start. The boys basketball team, 2-0, I'm sorry, yes.
No, the Crown Point basketball team, boys, is ranked 2.
Yeah, 2 in the state, yes. And then, they're, of course, like you said, ranked 2 in the state, looking very big, projecting to be great this year. Dikembe Shaw and company coming back. And then even looking forward beyond that, we don't want to look too far past the winter sports, but then, of course, you always got a great baseball team and softball team here in Crown Point. It's very fun to be here covering Crown Point sports. It's a blooming community right now in all facets. Every time we come to the high school here, it feels like there's a new extension or something or another investment. There's really few communities in the area and in the state that come around to school program and all the athletic programs within that school like Crown Point, and we couldn't be any happier to be the streaming partner for Crown Point here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
Yeah, I was stomping my feet a little bit when we were talking about it because all this was done after I graduated in 2018, so a little salty about that. But what an impressive first half we really saw for Crown Point. They got off pretty slow, but as you said, they really started to open it up to start off that second quarter, and they really took off. They went from not scoring for the first 4 or 5 minutes to scoring 32 points before the halftime buzzer sounded.
With great teams like Crown Point here, you might have a little bit of a slower start, but all you need is that just one spark of fire, and it could just start from there. And Sydney Hill was that spark for them there in the second quarter where they're thinking, okay, what are we doing? We can't really get the offense we want. All you need is a couple steals, a few deflections, some transition buckets, forcing some fouls, getting that front court of the Raiders to be able to foul a little bit, when they're trying to put that pressure inside. What that does is it makes it to where they can't defend as hard as they want to.
Right.
The defense you want to play, we got to stop them from getting inside. You get 2 or 3 fouls on each of those people in there. Then the arms are coming back a little bit, the body's moving a little back, you get more space to shoot, and then it opens everything else up for this Crown Point offense, where they want to get everything inside. If they miss inside, they get the offensive rebound, and then it leads to the kick out. And then that kick out, that's where it gets really dangerous, like we saw, where it can get from a 5-point, 10-point lead to a 20-point lead very quickly. You blink, you're like, what? They made 2 or 3 threes, and now we're down by 15? How'd that happen? It was 2 minutes.
Yeah, looking at the Northridge side, I didn't think they played bad. I just think that Crown Point, they started tightening up defensively, especially in the interior, and it became very hard for Northridge to go inside and pop it back out to set up any sort of threes. The Crown Point was even reading that. Lily Skoll was a name we said a lot in the first quarter. Didn't really see her a whole lot in the second quarter.
They shut her down like we were talking about with great coaching. I want to say Coach Stengel, they looked at that going out of the first quarter, said, okay, what do we got to do here? We had a slow start. What can we do to get this going? And they really settled in on Skoll there, said, okay, let's try and get her out of the game a little bit. And then if we do that on defense, offensively, we can go attack her on offense, So I think with 2 teams that play quite similarly, they know how to defend each other better than most because you play similarly, you practice against it. So it's kind of been a battle of execution. And it's not just because the score is 32-18 in Crown Point's favor. It's fair to say the Crown Point's with a much better executing team with few turnovers, fewer unforced turnovers particularly, so who's executing their game plan better thus far? And it would be Crown Point.
Also got to give a big credit to Crown Point in their passing. I would say that more than half of their field goals came from an assist. But also, don't forget, at the conclusion of tonight's game, we'll have the Crown Companies Lantern Man Superhero of the Game. Crown Companies have offices open from 9 to 7, Monday through Friday, and Saturdays till 2 in Highland, Maryville, and Michigan City. We also have the Boilermakers Local 374 Blue Collar Player of the Game, brought to you by Boilermakers Local 374. Learn about apprenticeship programs and more at Local374.org. And finally, the proud to be union play of the game presented by Ironworkers Local 395. Ironworkers Local 395. For more information on the apprenticeship program, check out ironworkers395.com. Zach, any final thoughts before we wrap up this halftime show and get ready for the second half?
If you're Northridge, you got to look and say, okay, we got to cut down, especially on those unforced errors.
I agree.
If you want to give yourself a chance in this game, you got to stop beating yourself. If you want to be able to beat your opponent, you got to stop beating yourself first and give yourself a chance. And then with that, I'd say, maybe try and diversify your shot profile a little bit. They keep trying to get inside, and that's good and all, but it's kind of been the same thing each time where you go right into Henderson or another big there for Crown Point, and then all the hands are swarming on you, forcing a turnover. So maybe try and find the holes in that 3-2 defense, and try and get maybe some shots in the mid-range to spread that zone out a little bit and make them have to change how they're playing defensively.
Now, I will say that it really felt like a snowball kind of compound effect for the Raiders is after a couple of those unforced turnovers, whether it be a pass through the hands, a travel, then it just started to happen consistently every other possession. And Crown Point, that's what they're designed to do. Not let you get field goals up and then go down the floor and get shots up on their own. As we're ready for the third quarter, Henderson getting the feed in the post, kick it back out. Three-pointer on its way, and it won't matter. It was too long. A travel is called on Addison Seibert. We saw Seibert for the first few minutes of the game, and she picked up 2 quick fouls, one of them leading to a and one chance, and then she sat out the rest of the first half. It's a feed into the post. Crown Point collapsing. Elbows being thrown. Feed down low to an open girl, and she makes it. Allie Ambers with a nice cut as Zoe Yeater battled off the defenders and found her girl.
A great side cut there from Ambers, try and help out your teammate who was double teamed in the post. Just make the backdoor cut, sit there with your hands open, and get ready to make it.
Ritchie running the offense. Henderson at the top of the key. Setting up for Ritchie for a possible corner 3, but that was closed off. Henderson gets it in the post. She gets around her defender. That's an easy 2.
Beautiful offense. Flare out screen off ball from Ritchie there where he gets the defense looking at her and then pass it inside to Henderson.
It was a really nice pass by Ritchie to put it in a spot where Henderson could catch it, go around the defender, and then get the bucket. Raiders able to save the ball. Running after it was Reichsbecker. 3, straight away. It's left short by Skull. Rebounds by Punick. Hale going to her right. She's in the lane. Floater, and it kisses off the glass and tickles the twine on the way down. Good move by Hale to penetrate. And a bad pass leads to an unforced turnover. Crown Point getting the ball back with 6:26 to go in the third quarter.
It's always a good feeling here when you look at the big, nice Jumbotron here they have in the Crown Point Gym and you see the Region Sports Network logo on there. Kind of feels like you made it a little bit, huh?
Only game in Crown Town. Ball was mishandled by Hale, goes to the ground, jump ball, and it will be rewarded to Northridge.
Yeah, but take a guess who it was to get that loose ball, though. Punick again. Third time this game.
She's the gritty player on this team. She has left her mark on the hardwood a few times. 3 coming up high, arcing shot. Yeater was able to get the rebound. Her shot, too strong. There's a third look coming up as Allie Ambers gets the offensive rebound. Swinging around the key. Feed down low. Yeater. And nowhere to go. Northridge just trying to find some sort of soft spot in the Crown Point defense, but instead it's a steal by Punick. Ritchie down the floor. She goes for the push shot. Left is short. Henderson knocked it away. It goes out, and it will be Northridge ball. Man, this Crown Point defense is tough as it gets.
They're smothering them. They're nothing easy, if you want to say that on this defense. Nothing easy. Anything you get against this Bulldog defense, you earned it.
16-point lead for the hometown Bulldogs in this East-West shootouts on this Saturday morning. Basketball being played here all day long. Crown Point, the steal. Punick got her hand in there. Picks up another steal herself, and a bad pass as it's intercepted as Langens forced one. Good jab step. Going for the high pass to Skull. She brings it down, throws it off the window, and a good possession for Northridge trying to climb their way back into this morning's contest.
If you're Northridge, you want to see many more possessions like that.
Punick down the lane. She gets bumped, and she rolls it in. Ava Punick having herself a game to remember.
Two-step underhand foul, bounce it in, finger roll. That is a tough shot to make with the contact.
The body control by the junior. You're right, because she was a good feet away from the basket for the underhand while she's getting hit. One of those moments where you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to get fouled. I'm going to get free throws. let's see if I can put this one in and make it an and one play.
Right, that's an easy shot just to say, I get fouled. I can't really get a good shot at the rim
Right.
there. But that, take the 2 long steps, underhand, under the arms, fouling you. Great play.
Well, Crown Point gets the old-fashioned three-pointer there. Ball was knocked away by Gerchek. Raiders able to recover it. Going for the back cut, and Punic once again gets the steal. Punic going to take it to the wing, drop it down low. Hale, Punic for 3, and that's way off. Would you call that a heat check?
It was a shot.
It's a feed. Yeater with the fadeaway jumper, and she gets the basket. Cross-court pass to Hale. Crown Point trying to slow it down. Hale, three-pointer, short.
Northridge is doing a much better job in this quarter of getting it inside.
And it's Yeater again, and Yeater gets bumped, and she stepped out of bounds. They're trying to speed it up. Crown Point needs to slow it down. The clock is their friend right now. They have a 15-point lead, but you want to let Northridge get into a rhythm here.
I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Stengel takes a timeout here soon because, as much as we talk about they want to play with that high pace and everything, you also got to recognize the time in the game. And with the situation where you're up 15 points here in the second half, you got to be able to slow it down and keep the lead yourself.
Transition 3 hits off the back iron, high into the air. Everyone battling for the rebound. It was Punic and Yeater. And those two number 30s on each side, they have been clawing for every rebound they can get their hands on.
They've been scrapping all game. We're looking at some awards that potentially after the game with like our blue-collar player of the game, Boilermakers Local 374. I mean, you're looking at players like that who are just going for every loose ball, fighting for rebounds. That's exactly what you're looking for if you're looking for that award.
And they just got a technical foul, and I think that's going to go on Ava Punic. She wasn't happy with the call, and the referee had heard enough and finally blew the whistle, signaled technical foul, and it's going to let Northridge shoot a free throw here, and they get the ball back.
Not the play you want to make if you're Crown Point. You don't want to give them any more momentum than they have. You got this lead in the game. You don't want to give them anything, even if you're frustrated. You just got to learn to keep your emotions there and be, okay, didn't go our way, but we got a big lead. Get them the next play.
Coach Springer picked Conley to shoot the 2 free throws. She made both. So Northridge cuts it down to a 13-point game, and they'll get the ball back. But Crown Point making some quick changes as Punic is coming out of the game. She's talking to her coach. The Crown Point went to their 2 best players in Ritchie and Henderson, and a travel after the inbound. Walker went to plant her feet, and it slipped. And a turnover, and looked like Northridge was gaining some momentum there. Again, it's those unforced turnovers that's been really shooting them in the foot.
Yep, if you're really trying to get in this game, that's the last thing you want to do is just beat yourself before you let them beat you,
Ritchie not going to take the screen from Henderson. She's going to go to her right, and a reach-in foul on the Raiders. We're going to get that one on Conley.
Just want to quickly go back for a moment. Right after that technical foul, we saw Punic go to the bench. Stengel, great coaching, was talking her through it the whole time, giving her a learning moment early in the season, as a high school kid, trying to say what to do, what not to do in that moment.
Wide open for a free throw line shot, and it's left short by Sophie Hart. Got the look that they were looking for, but she just couldn't convert it. Attack into the lane, it's rejected. Sophie Hart sending that one back from where it came. Ritchie, stop and pop, short. Rebound cleared into the lap of Allie Ambers. 13-point game. Ambers, crossover, stopping at the elbow. Kicks it out over here to Jada Walker. Going down the lane. Nowhere. Going out for 3. And it hits everything but the bottom of the basket. Under 3 minutes in the third quarter. Crown Point's offense is slowed down a bit here. Let's see what they call a play for. Gerchek in the corner. Going to go back to the wing. Ritchie. Left wing, 2.5 minutes to go, dribbling it back out. Of course, no shot clock in Indiana high school basketball, so Crown Point can sit on this and get the look that they're looking for. Ritchie gets a screen. She's going to shoot a three, and Ritchie buries it. Oh, what a screen to set up Ritchie for the triple.
That's what they want, a little flare down screen to the top of the key. She's been looking for that shot all game, a couple top of the key threes.
Northridge looking to respond. A foul on Ritchie. Back to a 16-point game after the three-pointer was hit by Ava Ritchie. Just a smooth stroke, too. And it was so quick. She caught it, got rid of it. She knew she was open, and it was nothing but nylon.
It was her first three of the game, but I'll tell you what, the other couple that she shot, they all look like they're going in from the release. You know, none of them go out and you're like, that one doesn't have. Every one of them looks like they're going in.
Go to that three-level score for Ava Ritchie. She scored from down low, from the mid-range, and, of course, from three. This makes her so good and a big weapon for Crown Point in these next few years. She's only a sophomore. Yeater, top of the key, fake pass, hands it off. Northridge strings some passes together. There's screen, three, and it's off to the right. Crown Point gets the ball away. Hale, Henderson likes the matchup, but her shot was too strong as it careens off the glass. 90 seconds to go. Now Northridge, they're pushing the tempo a bit, and they're going to get Ritchie for her third foul.
You know, if I were Hale there in that transition, I think I would have rather kept it there because the defender, she felt that she was going to pass to Henderson as the bigger player there in transition, so she leaned over to that, kind of left Hale open, kind of had, played right into her hand. She's like, okay, I'm going to try and make you think I'm going to guard you, and at the last second went to Henderson.
You see, it'll be a good time for a ball fake to see what the defender was going to do. If she went that way, you have open shot. If she doesn't, then you can pass it off.
Mm-hmm. I like the off-ball screens that each team is doing now in the second half. It's been a lot of nice movement off the ball, trying to get some shots open on the outside.
Yeah, both offenses constantly flowing. You always have to appreciate that, especially in the high school basketball level. Good pass, getting into the lane, and a bump. Allie Ambers, fantastic cut. Skull found her, and Northridge will set up at the charity stripe for two.
Exactly that, what we were just talking about. Maybe it wasn't an off-ball screen there, but that off-ball movement, when you're having this pressuring defense here of Crown Point, that's going to be your way you're going to get some open shots. You got to be able to cut through those openings in the defense, either make the shot or get fouled and make a couple at the line.
This is your first time doing color commentary for basketball? Solid.
Shout out Stacey King.
Yeah, if there's a buzzer beater, please just don't. I would even know what to call it. I think Stacey King needed an exorcism after Vucevic's buzzer beater win against Portland.
I love it, man. He's the best.
Gerchek in the corner. Double team coming, and they're going to rip it away from her. Nice play by Rexbecker. And it's going to lead to them pushing it down the floor and a double dribble. Allie Ambers got the pass, dribbled it, picked it up, dribbled it again. And that's an easy call for the referee. Again, unforced turnovers has been an issue for Northridge in this game. It's something they'll need to address before their next contest later on today against the Maryville Pirates. Deflected pass out of bounds. Crown Point will inbound it from down low. Good hands from Reichsecker.
Just back to that transition thing there, though. It's it starts from all players on the floor, though, because it wasn't just Ambers. It was a bit of a tough pass to where she had to recollect to try and catch it, and then she wasn't able to gather properly. As it was a great deflection there. It's just a couple things. It's not all at once. It's a couple things that compound into each other. Where maybe it's a pass that's a little errant, leading to a catch that's not as good as you want it to be, leading to a turnover from a play that should have been an open transition bucket.
The scoreboard got their hand on the ball. Lead the Crown Point trying to inbound it again. Henderson gets fed down low, and Henderson, after it sat on the top of the iron for a minute, goes down, and Henderson reaches double digits. She's at 11 points. Transition three, buried. They find Cam Conley, and she gets 3 points on the board for the Raiders. Hale, Seibert, corner, cross pass, other side, back to Hale. Hale plants her feet. Langhans, Henderson in the high post. Another pass. They're swinging it around. Langhans thought about taking a three there. Nothing. 21 seconds. Playing that four corners offense. Gerchek, three-point ball rolls off. And will roll off the hand of Sydney Hale Northridge gets the rebound. 14.8 seconds left in the third. A couple of substitutions for both sides as Skoll comes back in for Northridge.
Shot didn't drop, but that's exactly the way you want to try and beat a 2-3 zone. Fake a pass, make a pass, pass to the open girl. Got an open shot in the corner. Didn't drop. That's exactly the way you try and defeat the zone.
Skoll got it back out. Yeater with Henderson on the ground. Takes it herself and gets 2 points. 11-point game. Crown Point won't be able to get the last shot off, and the third quarter comes to a close. Crown Point still maintaining a double-digit lead, but with 8 minutes still left to go, this is still anyone's game. We'll take a quick break as you're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
At Blyce, we're used to having the athlete shop at our store.
Down, sit, put.
But sometimes they get carried away. Blyce, this is where the athlete shops.
Located in the heart of downtown Indianapolis, the newly renovated Hampton Inn is within walking distance to over 30 restaurants and attractions, including Lucas Oilfield and Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Hampton Inn has much to offer, including a hot breakfast, high-speed internet access in every room, as well as a fitness center. Why wait? Make your reservations today. Call 317-261-1200 or make them on the web at hamptonin3.hilton.com. Hampton Inn, Indianapolis, downtown.
Mayor Pete Land and the Crown Point Pace Department are proud to support Crown Point Bulldog Athletics and say go Bulldogs. Crown Point remains dedicated to preserving history, celebrating everyday life, providing the best in city services, and encouraging smart growth. Open skate returns to Timothy Gurish Ice Rink at Bulldog Park on Friday, November 28th, weather permitting. For a complete schedule of hours, visit crownpoint.in.gov. Andrew Mile with Zach Miller. That's Miller with 2 eyes as we enter the fourth and potentially final quarter of this game in the early morning hours. Crown Point started off with the ball. Henderson couldn't bring in the pass. It will lead to a jump ball, and that will immediately go to Northridge. And I got to say, Zach, if Northridge can play as strong as they did to close out the third quarter going to this fourth, they might be able to get back in this game and make it close towards the end.
You might be able to make it a game once like we said earlier, you just cut down on those, if you're them, you want to cut down on those unforced errors. Try like this, get the ball inside.
Went baseline, he gets 2 points. It's a single-digit lead now for Crown Point, 44-35. And a foul. Ambers hit the hand of Ava Ritchie. First foul on the Raiders in this fourth quarter.
And if you're Northridge on that play where they just scored, that's exactly what you want to do. They fake the pass, the fake handoff there on the baseline, and just take it there around the corner for the score. That's what you want more of, to be able to get the ball inside.
Ball being swung around. Seibert found Ritchie. Going back to Seibert. Seibert not afraid to shoot a three, and she tried to get it down low to Henderson, but closing it off was Ambers that hit it out of bounds.
They had it there where Yeater, she helped too far where Henderson was open, but they didn't see her, because when you're open like that, you got to put your hands up so they can see, especially when you're 6'4".
Inbound play, shot is up and good by Ava Punick.
Or you could just do that.
3-point shot was going to go up, but the Raider held on to the ball and landed back down, and that is Allie Ambers. Was that Ritchie that contested it?
Mm-hmm.
She came out of nowhere, and Ambers felt uncomfortable. Instead of passing it off or even just taking the shot, it's a turnover, and the Raiders don't need that right now.
It's a group effort defensively by Crown Point. Everyone's chiming in.
Punick in the high post, trying to be strong. Seibert into the corner. Hale kicks it out to Ritchie. A risky pass. Ritchie was able to gather it. Crown Point just trying to play keep away right now and expose this zone defense. And Seibert hit on the arm. That's a good call by the referee.
They're doubling the ball, playing in the zone here, trying to get them to trying to force a turnover. You know, you're down 11 points with less than 7 minutes to go. You got to try and get some turnovers going your way, get out in transition, get some quick points if you want to have a chance to win this.
And this is the first time where Crown Point has entered the fourth quarter. It's still a relatively close game. Most of their wins with 20 or 30-point leads by the end.
Be great, like we said earlier, great experience for them.
Ritchie catches the pass from Henderson, and she buries the triple. Ava Ritchie's having herself a game to start off this shootout.
Do not want to leave her at the top of the key.
No, I completely agree with you on that. And I know Coach Springer for Northridge is thinking the same thing. Why is she open?
Double off anyone, just not her.
Skull goes right into the chest of Seibert. Open three coming up, and it won't go down, just slightly off the mark. 14-point lead for Crown Point, 6 minutes to go. Crown Point slowing down this game. Trying to milk out this clock and get themselves another win. Henderson turnaround, high arcing shot, and it goes down easily. My goodness.
You try and contest that shot, all 6'4".
There's no way to contest that. Body's hitting the floor, and they're going to call a blocking foul on Ava Punick. And earlier we saw Punick not happy with the call when she was battling for a rebound that led to her having a technical foul. And from there, she sat on the bench for the rest of the third quarter. They know that Coach Stengel probably trying to calm her down and make sure that she doesn't get a second technical foul. Cross pass to Skull. Skull one-on-one goes around Henderson, and the nice jelly roll there from Skull for it to go down.
Very nice play. She's had a couple nice finishes into the lane here this game, a little crafty.
Skull came in averaging 14 points, and she's been a main source of offense for the Raiders. Seibert, the daughter of Coach Seibert for Crown Point for all those years. Even won a state championship. And that team was chock full of talent. And Stengel is going to burn a timeout. With 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, we will step aside for a short 30-second break. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
You're watching Region Sports Network coverage of high school girls basketball on youtube.com/Region Sports, facebook.com/Region Sports Nation, and regionsports.com. Zach Miller joining me, Andrew Mild, as we're coming back out of the timeout where Crown Point just burned one. And I got to say, Zach, this has been a really fun game to watch.
It's definitely the pace and the momentum of the game, I guess, saying for how fun it has been. It's only grown as the game's grown on. So where maybe we started a little slower to start the game, now that we're at 5 minutes left in a 14-point game in the fourth, it's gone to a fever pitch to where each team, they're executing better, they're playing faster, they're making more shots toward the end. It's gotten much more fun as the game's grown on.
Yeah, later on, Maryville will be taking on Columbia City. That's the game going on after this. And then Maryville will turn around and face Northridge. So Maryville versus Northridge at 3 o'clock. And then the Region Sports Network will provide live video coverage of Crown Point and Columbia City. The tentative start time for that is 5 o'clock. Crown Point inbounds the ball after the timeout as Sophie Hart has the ball, hands it off to Rich. Rich has scored a good amount of points for Crown Point, drilling some threes here in the second half. Henderson even showed off that she has some range. She's not just a post scorer. She's battling down low. Bit of a mismatch. Crown Point trying to find any way to get it down to her as she's battling with Conley. Crown Point just very happy to sit on the basketball for as much time as they can.
That and with Henderson, I'd argue they have a lot of success however way they get the ball. As you saw with that turnaround, but there's also been a couple times where they get her the ball in the mid to high post, not just the low post, where she's able to make a play with the shot she made or a pass.
Bad pass, steal, good pass, down to Skull. Skull gets a free 2 points, gets her up to 13 points in this game. tying Henderson for the leading scorer. Henderson also has 13. Ritchie with 12. And Henderson's going to take that lead right back. She's up to 15 points on that good old-fashioned pick and roll.
Sometimes you want to have the nice flashy offensive movement, but sometimes you just good old simple.
Skull responds right back. Trading blows, Henderson and Skull. There's a defender going down for Northridge. Hale, the Hart. For a moment it looked like a risky pass, but Hart was able to bring in the pass from Hale. 3.5 minutes to go. Hale could have took a shot there. But you can tell that Crown Point is slowing down this pace, and another timeout is being burned. As we'll stay right here with 3.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Crown Point is up 12. And the story for me, for Crown Point, Zach, is that the two-star players that we talked about, Ritchie and Henderson, they've been the main source of offenses. They've combined for 27 points in this game.
Yep, they've combined for 27 points, and they've got it in the ways that you expect them to do it. Where you have Ritchie, who isn't just scoring, we talked about 13 points, but also playmaking for her teammates, including Henderson, getting open shots, getting some rebounds, and then Henderson not just scoring, but getting those big rebounds down low. A few of her buckets have come from offensive rebounds, and then making plays for others. Even if she isn't the one generating the assist on the stat sheet, she's generating the double teams. She's getting the double teams to get open players or open teammates who are then getting past to. So even if she's not the one getting the assist, she has the gravity inside to make those defenders guard her rather than her teammates.
And I will say, too, for Crown Point, not only is it Ritchie and Henderson, but they have just phenomenal role players. Been really impressed with Eva Punick in this game, and the same for Sydney Hale. Hale doesn't have a whole lot of points, but she's been making up for it for her efforts in every other facet of the game.
And I thought, Sophie Hart coming off the bench.
Hart too.
I thought she's done a great job providing some length at 6'1" off the bench. She's got a block or two where I thought earlier in the game there's a couple possessions that stood out where someone tried to take the baseline and she walled her off and then blocked the shot. I thought they have had a couple of great contributions just beyond their star players. It's really a great team effort here.
Northridge, definitely a team to respect. Not an easy task for Crown Point, especially getting up and playing a game at 10 a.m. Who knows what time they got here to the high school after a long day of studies yesterday. And a steal. Reisecker is able to poke it away. Yeater. Had to get it back out to the perimeter. Here's a three-pointer on its way from the corner. Nothing but nets. Allie Ambers makes a 9-point game again with 3 minutes to go. The press coming up for Northridge. Ritchie coming back in. Going out is Langhans. And Punick is going to sub herself back in for Sophie Hart.
Coach Stengel trying to get the starters back in. You say, okay, we got 3 minutes left. They're getting a little bit of momentum. Let's try and get this reeled in here.
They're going to call a hold on Reisecker as she sort of grabbed Ava Rich as Rich was starting to cut her way back out. That'll be a foul on Northridge. And again, you and I talked about it. The reason why you even have a shootout like this, a sort of a round-robin tournament, is that you can, good pass, Seibert down the lane, she gets bumped, shot goes up into the air and not touching the iron. Northridge trying to speed up this game as much as they can. They're a good three-point shooting team. And Skull lost the ball. Crown Point tried to save it back into the lap of the Raiders. And going down the lane, Skull, she gets hit while going up for the shot. She'll go to the line. But we're starting to see both coaches figure out what they have on their team. As this is getting really tight, we're starting to see Crown Point start rushing themselves a little bit.
Exactly. You're seeing them. They're pressuring them a little bit. And like we said earlier, for a team in Crown Point that hasn't really faced this adversity in a closer game this season, they aren't exactly prepared for it yet. Now, that doesn't mean they won't be prepared for it right now and then in the season. But just for right now, as their first time facing it, they're going, okay, what do we do? We have this pressure. How are we going to handle it? What sets do we need to run when things aren't working every time?
Skull goes 2 for 2 at the line. 7-point game. 2.5 minutes to go. Ritchie down the lane, and her floater was left off the left iron. Northridge going down the floor. Reisecker was able to regain the ball. It gets tipped out of bounds by Crown Point. You already said it. Crown Point beat KV by 29, Bishop Nolan and Drain by 30, and Hamilton Central by 20. That's their 4 wins on the year. They haven't had a single-digit win in the early parts of this season. And Northridge just played themselves a close game. They only won by 3 against Fairfield.
So when you're looking at that early season experience, you're thinking who's already accustomed to playing under the pressure here at this moment in a 7-point game here. It's usually about 7-point runs here in basketball. 2.5 minutes, they're the ones who are more accustomed to it right now.
Skull got the inbound pass. She pulls up from the elbow, and she gets it to go down. 5-point game. You and I said it, Zach. After that third quarter, it looked like the Raiders had gotten themselves into a rhythm. They were stringing some passes together, making some shots, timeout on the floor. So we'll stay right here. But they've carried that momentum into the fourth quarter. They were down by as much as 16 points. Now it's a 5-point game. That's only 2 possessions.
Douglas Springer, 18 years, over 300 wins. If there's any coach you want to expect to think, okay, can we rally the troops here and make a difference and change what we're doing to get to the end of the game and have a closer game, it would be him. It's been great adjustments, trying to get the ball more inside, trying to have a little less unforced errors, and have a little more movement. I thought I've noticed in the second half, a little more movement off the ball. Compared to the first half, there's been a quite bit more cutting off the ball and trying to find those creases inside the paint where you're trying to get those creases, score inside, and then it opens up the corner threes. We've seen Conley make a couple of corner threes in this second half here, just off of those inside penetrations and then kicking out to the three-point shooter.
We've also seen Lily Skoll come alive after she was very quiet in that second quarter as she made some big plays here. Punick dribbled it, penetrated, and then kicked it back out. 2 minutes. And at what point, if you're Northridge, you consider fouling and start sending Crown Point to the line. 2 minutes to go. Hale forced it to Punick. Punick spin move, looking for somewhere to go. She finds Hale by the timeline. She's sitting by the volleyball line. You might start seeing some fouls here. Crown Point is just milking that clock away. They get to the hands of Ritchie. That may be the last person you want to foul. Ritchie picked up her dribble, found Seibert. Seibert with a lane, back out. 90 seconds. Reisecker guarding Ritchie. Spin move, Punick. They've ran off about a minute. Still no fouls coming up for Northridge. Ball tipped away, and Coach Springer wants that to be Northridge ball. Instead, it will be Crown Point ball.
Coach Springer adamant that it was off the Crown Point defender, but I'll tell you what, the refs see better than we do, so I'm not sure.
He might be trying to sell it.
Yeah.
Trying to win an Oscar for that performance.
The best coaches know how to do it well.
Oh, that's true. When you win 321 games, you have to be pretty good at selling it.
You know how to sell a call when you win that many.
Ball is stolen. Reisecker, and they're battling for it. The possession arrow belongs to the Bulldogs as Ritchie was able to jump on top of it when Reisecker had the ball. And for a moment, you could feel a lot of these Crown Point fans take a deep breath as it looked like Northridge was going to get the ball on their side and possibly go for the transition bucket. And a foul is being called. Looked like another grab by Northridge as Ritchie got a screen and was cutting away. It pinned that one on Cam Conley.
There's been a handful of off-ball fouls here by Northridge in this game, just on them trying to contain Ritchie, just like that, separating off an inbound.
Ritchie goes off a body, loses the ball. She can't dribble, and timeout Crown Point. And as the Raiders have picked up their tenacity defensively, we've seen Crown Point make some crucial errors that we really didn't see for the first 3 quarters of the game.
Uncharacteristic errors,
yes.
Where they, they feel like they were in their comfort zone the first 3 quarters, where they're controlling the pace of the game. Opposed to the first 3 quarters where Crown Point was controlling the pace of the game. This final quarter, it has been Northridge controlling the pace. And when you're the one controlling how the game's flowing, you're the one who gets to choose, okay, who's comfortable and who's not. And you could see in this final stretch, Northridge has been very comfortable when they get the ball and when they're on defense, as opposed to Crown Point. They're a little more tense. There's a little more pressure on them. They're not as confident when they're dribbling the ball up the floor. Okay, maybe in the third or second quarter, they're feeling, okay, I could just make this pass here onto the left wing. They're second-guessing themselves. Like, I don't think I can make that pass. Or maybe I need to take another half dribble or so, another step. And that's all the difference it needs to make when you're turning the ball over or not getting the open shot, when you're taking that extra dribble or taking an extra second to pass the ball.
Thank you for joining us on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town. Andrew Mild and Zach Miller for the final minute, 3 seconds in Game 1 of this East-West shootout being played at Crown Point High School. Henderson gets the pass from Hale. She goes up and doesn't need the glass. This goes straight down the cup. And Crown Point gets a much-needed field goal, 7-point game. Looking for the drop-off pass. It was indeed touched by Zoe Yeater. Crown Point gets the call, and they get the ball. And Sophie Hart pops off her seat, comes in for Ivy Henderson, who's up to 17 points after that bucket.
Steve Stangel's been using this selectively, though, with the substitutions. Been bringing in Henderson for offense to try and, because her offense has run much better when she's there to operate in the post. But then on defense, bringing in Sophie Hart to be a little more mobile defensively.
Richie, she's doing a lot of dribbling, and Northridge was able to poke it away. And there's about 4 or 5 bodies on the ground. Puna came up with it, and she tripped over a Northridge player, went down to the floor, and the whistle was blown. A foul being called on Northridge. And unfortunately, the only scoreboard we can see doesn't necessarily tell us if Crown Point is in the bonus or not, but it looks like they are going to set up for free throws here.
It comes as no surprise who was the one to go for that loose ball, Andrew. We've been saying it all game long. Ava Punick. She's been going for those loose balls all game. We talked about it earlier. She kind of reminds me of a player like Alex Caruso, where they might get a couple fouls that you're like, but it comes with the tenacity, with how hard you play. Right. And as a coach, you'll take that because you'd much rather have to rein a player in than to bring a player out. With Ava Puna, that's exactly what it is, with that tenacity and that great defense, going for the loose balls. She's exactly a player you want there on the defensive end.
Everyone needs that one gritty, tough player. They're not afraid to dive into the stands for a loose ball. And as you said it earlier, Punick's probably leading this game in diving for the basketball, even though, unfortunately, it's not a stat we track. But certainly one that coaches see and they definitely appreciate. 8-point game as Punick goes 1 for 2 at the line. Northridge, they're in a big hurry. Skull into a double team, and her pass was slightly off. Referee is saying that one of the Crown Point defenders got her on the arm, and it's going to be pinned onto Sydney Hale.
See Coach bringing Richie back onto the floor now. Had her off just in case she picked up a foul there. Now she's bringing her back on after she comes off the floor there.
Northridge inbounds it. Yeater tried to go for the fadeaway, and she was hit again. Punick palms up. Not on her, though.
Called it on the floor as well. Did not call it a shooting foul.
No. That's the right call. It was well before she shot. 8-point game. Couple of fouls on Crown Point. Northridge pass is off. It rolls out. Crown Point basketball.
Great defense there by Sydney Hale to prevent Ambers from getting the ball. Pressured her off the ball. That's the stuff we've been talking about all game. Forcing those turnovers to where it will not be an easy pass to get in there from the inbound.
26 seconds. Crown Point in the bonus. So the Northridge team will have an opportunity to foul them, but Richie is going to push off of Reichsecker. There'll be an offensive foul. No time comes off the clock. And also importantly, that puts the Raiders in the bonus.
Andrew, how many fouls have we had in the last 15 seconds of game time?
As they say, if I had to pick the last 2 minutes to live, I'd pick the last 2 minutes of a close basketball game because realistically it's about half an hour. You extend your life a little bit. That was said by Bill Walton, Hall of Famer that he was.
One of many great things he said. Probably one of the only ones we could say on the broadcast here.
That's true.
So we'll keep it at that. But no, it's been when you get to these tense games here at the end, it's getting close. With two teams that have been playing physical already all game, they're not going to switch it up for the end. And especially when you're the referees, they've done a great job all game. When you get to this end in the most pivotal part of the game, you got to be especially paying attention to these calls and making the right ones. And with how physical they're playing, they're not bad calls.
No.
They are fouls, so you got to call them.
Yeah, I would say these referees have done a really good job. Both coaches haven't really had a lot to gripe about in this contest. And one instance we saw was with Punic, but I think that just comes from Ava Punic and her nature being a high-intensity player. But it's an offensive foul, so no free throws for the Raiders just yet. But if Crown Point fouls now, then Northridge will go to the line. Northridge will inbound it from down low. It feels like the ball's been sitting there for a while. They get it in. They go for the cut, and one! Skull down the lane, gets hit, and she's going to go to the line. The bump in the bucket.
A great way to cut down the middle of the lane, as we said, Andrew. Help your teammate out when they're caught up and they picked up their dribble. You got to move and show yourself to the ball handler to be able to make a pass and then make a play. Great cut down the middle by Skull.
That's been the Raiders' favorite play. Get into the post and let Skull go down the lane. No one picking her up. And by the time she gets to the cup, it's too late. Skull converts it. 5-point game with 22 seconds. Crown Point wasting no time. Ritchie got the inbound, pushing it down the floor. They got to foul someone. Crown Point moving it around as Seibert goes cross pass, and they were able to get the foul before she got the pass off as Reichsecker just shoving Addison Seibert. Big free throws coming up for Crown Point.
Big free throws here, 5-point game. See how they do with the pressure here on them.
Seibert 2 for 2 from the charity stripe this season. She gets the first one, and that is huge. 6-point game.
Subbing in Grisic and Hart here to get a little more size and speed on defense, to particularly take your two stars out and prevent them from getting a foul.
Seibert goes 2 for 2. Extends the lead to 7. It's a 3-possession game. We're going to have to start checking up some threes. They're wasting some time here. Three-pointer is off the iron. Crown Point getting the ball, and they can milk out the rest of this game. Crown Point stays undefeated. They improve to 5-0 in their closest game of the season. And what a test it was against these Northridge Raiders.
It was a great test for them, Andrew, and we thought through the first 3 quarters, particularly after the second and third where they got the lead, it's like, okay, maybe it might be another one for Crown Point where they blow them out toward the end and get their way. But no, Northridge fought incredibly hard here in the later half of the second half to give them a game, to get themselves within 5 points, play incredibly great defense on them, get them pressured up, have them make errors, and make them have to find themselves a little bit here. This is a part where if you're a Crown Point team, you hadn't found adversity in this form yet this season. And if you're Coach Stengel, you're a little upset, with maybe some of the turnovers and plays you make in the game. But when you look after the game and say, this is incredible for us long term and our outlook for what we want to achieve the rest of the season.
We will take a quick break. We'll come back, give out some awards and some thank yous as we wrap up Game 1 of this doubleheader here on the Region Sports Network. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
Ava, let's go.
Try it on.
The shortest distance between two people is a smile. That's why we're committed to fighting hunger in our communities until everyone has a reason to smile. Stratford Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Hi, I'm Crowd Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowd Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowd Companies, insurance professionals. Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Four Seasons Mechanical proudly serves Northwest Indiana, providing quality, reasonably priced, reliable service. With a quality and comfort guarantee, the professionals at Four Seasons Mechanical offer a wide range of services in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Whether it's residential or commercial, Four Seasons Mechanical is there 24/7. To find out more, the website is fourseasonsmechanical.com or give them a call at 219-756-7020. Four Seasons Mechanical, your indoor air quality specialist.
You're watching Region Sports Network coverage of high school girls basketball on youtube.com/Region Sports, facebook.com/Region Sports Nation, and regionsports.com. Andrew Mile with Zach Miller as the Crown Point Bulldogs pick up their 5th consecutive win to start off this new era underneath Brad Stengel. And Zach, as you and I saying it, the reason why you even host a shootout like this is to test your team, let them play an early game and get that grogginess out of the way. But Crown Point really had their first test of the year, and I would say they passed with flying colors.
Yes, they did. Like you said, you want to try and get yourself, when you're in this early pre-conference showdowns, you want to kind of stack the deck against you in a way.
That's true.
You want to have Saturday morning against a team that you hadn't seen before, So that's two things working for you. And with that, you get this team, Northridge, who plays similar to you, has a pressured style, wants to do pace and space, and they've got that. They've played a little better in the end of the first half, right, to get that big lead. But then Northridge goes on a run, particularly in that fourth quarter, giving them their pressure, giving them a little bit of adversity that maybe they hadn't seen in their 4 games prior to this one. But if you're a great team like Crown Point, maybe some other teams, they would have fallen to that pressure and said, okay, this is the first time we've seen it, we can't handle it. But with a team that's 4-0 and now 5-0 in Crown Point, I'd say definitely they passed with flying colors. They got the test, and then they passed it.
And I would say for the Northridge team, again, we came into this game knowing that both teams are going to be very well coached, and Douglas Springer did a great job rallying his troops for that fourth quarter to even make it close when they were down 16. You said it. It looked like it was going to be another Crown Point dominant win where they could celebrate, rest their starters, and get ready for their 5 o'clock game earlier on against Columbia City. But instead, you had players like Skull and Conley stepping up, making some great passes, making some clutch shots. And with them even making it close, I think that's a major win for Springer.
Exactly. If you're happy if you're Springer and Northridge because, you had all the reasons to say, it just wasn't our day.
Exactly.
If we're talking about it's an early Saturday morning here for us in Crown Point, what do you think it is for Northridge coming from Middlebury, Indiana?
That's true.
They're coming all the way here on a Saturday morning, so they didn't get much sleep, and they already came out here, and they were down big, So they had all the reasons, and as a team, to be like, just not our game, whatever. We can just chalk this one up as a loss and not really give it too much effort. They did the opposite of that. The later the game got, the harder they tried. They really wanted to win this one. And I know they didn't pull it out against Crown Point today, but I like their chances for the rest of the season for Northridge. I liked a lot of what they saw because a lot of the mistakes they made and the reasons they lost this game weren't talent deficiencies or coaching deficiencies they saw. It was unforced errors.
Yes.
And those are things that is the most fixable thing as a program when you go out throughout a season. If you look from the beginning of a season to an end of the season, the thing that fixes itself the best is those unforced errors, So I really like this Northridge team and how they're going to look for the rest of the year.
Northridge will go up against the Maryville Pirates, who are currently warming up on the floor as they'll be taking on Columbia City. And then Crown Point will face Columbia City at around 5 o'clock for varsity session 2. Time to hand out some awards. The first one, the Crowell Companies Lantern Man Superhero of the Game. Crowell Companies proud to recognize the superheroes on the basketball court. And Zach, for us, this was a really easy choice. Ivy Henderson had 17 points, a good amount of rebounds. She did a lot for her team today.
She had 17 points, and she stuffed the stat sheet with those 17 points and near a double-double with rebounds. But it wasn't just what happened in the box score. It's what happened off the box score as well. Her as that low-post anchor for them, both offensively and defensively. One, she opened a lot of shots for her teammates. There's a couple that come to mind, like Ava Ritchie in different three-point shots, where the defense is double-teaming her, even before the catch, to where it opens up on that zone defense to pass across court or to the top of the key to get those open jump shots. And then on defense, maybe she didn't get a ton of blocks tonight, But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of shots deterred and shots not even attempted because of her presence down there at 6'4". So yes, she had a great scoring night, but her impact was even undersold a little bit because of the shots she prevented from going up and the shots she created that weren't even counted as assists, but created for her teammates.
Blue Collar Player of the Game is brought to you by Boilermakers Local 374. Earn while you learn with Boilermakers Local 374. And this player was all over the place. She was quiet in the second quarter. She awoke in the third quarter and had a great fourth quarter. Lily Skull of Northridge was definitely a player to look forward to for the Raiders going on in their season.
The junior's been their leading scorer in their first 4 games up to this point, and she maybe had a bit of a slower start than she wanted to begin this game. As much of her team was, with the pressure from Crown Point. But as the game got closer and more dire, that's when your best players need to show up. And she did exactly that. There were moments, particularly what I noticed was when their ball handlers were maybe a little pressured and double teamed, they had to pick up their dribble. She made the best cuts of anyone out there, really, of cutting down the middle of the lane, making herself available for the pass, and then finishing a couple nice layups and getting some nice and ones.
And finally, it's the Proud to Be Union Play of the Game presented by Ironworkers 395. To find out how you can become a union iron worker, visit ironworkers395.com. And Zach, you picked out this play. Take us through it.
Let's see here. We're going to play it here on the Region Sports replay here. Yeah. Here we go right here on the Region Sports replay off the inbound. They pass it inside. A nice little shot. They get the rebound and one for Crown Point. This was in the first quarter of the game where it kind of set the momentum for them, where Northridge, it was when they were playing, it was kind of a slow start for both teams, maybe a couple shots made in that first quarter, but then this and one happens after the offensive rebound, and from that point on, Crown Point really had the momentum throughout the game where they started getting themselves that big lead that they were able to hold on to the end of the game.
Well, that's going to do it for our first game of this doubleheader, as later on we'll see the Crown Point Bulldogs see if they can go to 6-0 as they take on the Columbia City Eagles. Big thank yous to our executive producer, Chris Ramirez, operations manager, Rich Castillo, Heather Ames, who is our sales manager, and sports director, Mike Dewan. The coaches, Doug Springer of Northridge and Bradley Stengel of Crown Point. The athletic directors, Ryan Bales of Northridge, Bill DeRullo of Crown Point, and of course our viewers on IHSAA Champions Network, Facebook/Region Sports Nation, YouTube/Region Sports, and RegionSports.com. For our camera operator, Caleb Bernard, our producer, Clint Klaus, and my partner and the coordinating producer at the Region Sports Network, Zach Miller. That's Miller with 2 I's. I've been Andrew Mild. This has been Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.